Right, so now that we have our first row of single crochets, we've worked into the chain, the hard part's done, okay? Now we just get to keep adding rows and making our piece longer. All right, so we've gotten to the end of our row, we've made our last stitch, we counted our stitches to make sure we're all good, and so now we need to make another row of single crochets. So if you'll remember when we worked into our starting chain, we skipped the very first chain and we went into the second chain from the hook, right? So that gives us what we call a turning chain. It gives us a little extra room on the ends for that stitch to be the height that it wants to be. All right, so we have to add the same chain on this side to get us up to the level we need to be at. So we're just going to chain one once we get to the end of that row. Now, in order to work these stitches, we need to turn our work. And you always turn it like the page of a book, okay? So you will take the piece and just flip it over like the page of a book, all right? So it was looking like this, okay? Then you just turn it like the page of a book. And you'll see now we, this is what's considered the wrong side of a single crochet. See how it's bumpier? Okay, if we kind of flip it over, that's the smooth side, that's the right side. This is the wrong side, or the bumpy side. Okay, and just remember to keep the tail on the bottom. It should be closest to your hook. Again, this is for right-handed crocheters. And we are now ready to start crocheting into the stitches that we just made in the first row. So if you look at the top of your piece, okay, this is the chain that we just made. We don't work into that. Okay, again, we skip that. So we go into the very first V that is an actual stitch. Okay, so this is the V that counts for this first stitch. Okay, and we're going to go under, instead of just going under one loop this time, we're going to go under both loops. So I want you to go under that whole V. Okay, so you should be able to see your hook in there underneath those two strands. And from now on, that's going to count as our one. But this is when we go to make our stitch, when we yarn over and pull through, we pull through both those strands as one. That's still considered our yarn over pull through one. And now we're attached again. And if we're just going to make a single crochet, we yarn over again and pull through two. All right, and then you can see that's your very first single crochet for the second row. And we'll just continue. Again, we go underneath. So if you can see, this is, it's a lot easier to see, I think, once you get into the other rows than it is working into a chain, because the holes are looser. Okay, so you go underneath, yarn over, pull it through both of those strands of the V, yarn over, and now you pull through both. Okay, insert it underneath the V, yarn over, pull through the V, yarn over again, pull through two. And you're just going to go down the whole row, just like this. And when we're done, we should again have 10 stitches, because we don't count those turning chains in single crochet. It's a different story when we get to taller stitches. But for right now, we are just concerned about single crochet. And it can be difficult to find or to know when you've hit the last stitch. All right. So some tricks for that are you can put a paper clip in that stitch. Okay. So when you're crocheting it, it's actually going to be the first stitch that you make will be the last stitch that you work into on the next row. Does that make sense? So you would put a paper clip or a stitch marker or something right in here. Okay. You can count, which is always a good idea until you really know what your stitches look like, is to count your V's and to make sure you know which V is attached to which stitch. Okay. So again, I could count. I could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay? And that's row 2. And you would do the same thing for row 3. So we need to chain 1. We're going to turn our work, just like so. And we're ready to work our first single crochet, not into our chain stitch, but into this very first V right here. We insert, yarn over, pull it through the V, yarn over, pull through 2. And you would go right down just like we did before. Okay? Now you'll see that my hold has kind of changed a bit. Right? Instead of keeping my finger out like this, I just go and I hold it. But I keep a little bit of space so that I can still go and get that yarn. And this is just a habit that's grown from having to crochet very quickly. So I like to keep everything close so that I don't have to make such big movements. Alright, and that is the end of row 3. So go ahead and do a few rows till you feel comfortable and don't have to think about it anymore, and then we'll start double crochets.